Easter, principal festival of the Christian Church, which celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ on the third day after his crucifixion. The earliest recorded observance of an Easter celebration comes from the 2nd century, though the commemoration of Jesus' resurrection probably occurred earlier. The English word Easter, which parallels the German word Ostern, is of uncertain origin. One view, expounded by the Venerable Bede in the 8th century, was that it derived from Eostre or Eostre, an Anglo-Saxon goddess possibly associated with spring and fertility. In the modern era, the connection between Eostre and spring has been disputed. She may have been a local protective deity rather than a fertility figure. This view presumes, as does the view associating the origin of Christmas on December 25th with pagan celebrations of the winter solstice, that Christians appropriated pagan names and holidays for their highest festivals. Given the determination with which Christians combated all forms of paganism, the belief in multiple deities, this appears a rather dubious presumption. There is now widespread consensus that the word derives from the Christian designation of Easter week, as in albus, a Latin phrase that was understood as the plural of alba, meaning dawn, and became Eosterum in Old High German, the precursor of the modern German and English term. The Latin and Greek Pascha, Passover, provides the root for Pâques, the French word for Easter. Fixing the date on which the resurrection of Jesus was to be observed and celebrated triggered a major controversy in early Christianity in which an Eastern and a Western position can be distinguished. The dispute, known as the Paschal Controversies, was not definitively resolved until the 8th century. In Asia Minor, Christians observed the day of the crucifixion on the same day that Jews celebrated the Passover offering, that is, on the 14th day of the first full moon of spring, 14 Nisan. The resurrection then was observed 2 days later on 16 Nisan, regardless of the day of the week. In the West, the resurrection of Jesus was celebrated on the first day of the week, Sunday, when Jesus had risen from the dead. Consequently, Easter was always celebrated on the first Sunday after the 14th day of the month of Nisan. Increasingly, the churches opted for the Sunday celebration, and the Quartodecimans, or 14th day proponents, remained a minority. The Council of Nicaea in 325 decreed that Easter should be observed on the first Sunday following the first full moon after the spring equinox, which falls on March 21st. Easter, therefore, can fall on any Sunday between March 22nd and April 25th. Eastern Orthodox churches use a slightly different calculation based on the Julian rather than the Gregorian calendar, which is 13 days ahead of the former. As a result, the Orthodox Easter celebration usually occurs later than that celebrated by Protestants and Roman Catholics. Moreover, the Orthodox tradition prohibits Easter from being celebrated before or at the same time as Passover. In the 20th century, several attempts were made to arrive at a fixed date for Easter, with the Sunday following the second Saturday in April specifically proposed. While this proposal and others had many supporters, none came to fruition. Renewed interest in a fixed date arose in the early 21st century, resulting from discussions involving the leaders of Eastern Orthodox, Syriac Orthodox, Coptic, Anglican, and Roman Catholic churches, but formal agreement on such a date remained elusive. Amazing facts about Easter. Easter is the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ in the Christian religion. Eggs have been seen as an ancient symbol of fertility, while springtime is considered to bring new life and rebirth. Americans spend $1.9 billion on Easter candy. That's the second biggest candy holiday after Halloween. 76% of Americans think the ears of a chocolate bunny should be the first to be eaten. Egg dyes were once made out of natural items such as onion peels, tree bark, flower petals, and juices. There's much debate about the practice of dyeing chicks. Many hatcheries no longer participate, but others say that it isn't dangerous to the chick's health because the dye only lasts until the chicks shed their fluff and grow their feathers. The first story of a rabbit, later named the Easter Bunny, hiding eggs in a garden was published in 1680. Easter takes place on a Sunday, after the 40-day period called Lent. Lent is referred to as a time of fasting, but participants focus more on giving up one significant indulgence. Holy Week is celebrated during the week leading up to Easter. It begins on Palm Sunday, continues on to Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and then finally, Easter Sunday. The White House Easter egg roll event has been celebrated by the President of the United States and their families since 1878. The largest Easter egg hunt consisted of 501,000 eggs that were searched for by 9,753 children accompanied by their parents at the Cypress Gardens Adventure Park in Winter Haven, Florida, USA, on the 1st of April 2007. Happy Easter!